Thank you for getting a copy of this market analysis section to be able to write your business plan on your own. I'd like to walk you through what these documents are and how to use them best, and also how to write a market analysis. First and foremost, what you're getting access to is this copy-only version of this market analysis template. So to be able to use this, you will not be able to edit directly in here. You'll need to go to File and Make a Copy. And once you've made a copy, then that will be the file you'll be able to name for yourself, save in your own drive, and edit. Over here, this PDF will be sent to you as a non-editable instructional guide to be able to walk you through each section, so you have something to give you some examples and walk you through how to write each section. So once you've done your make a copy and you have your own copy of this saved and named how you'd like it, you will then go to the first section, and this will fit into your overall business plan as the market analysis. So if you have a table of contents and a master document already started for your business plan, this is where the market analysis fits. And if you'd like your table of contents to function correctly, you'll need to make sure that that has the heading 1. And that's what this is referring to, is to make sure that that has heading 1. Heading 2 also works as well, but if you want to be able to layer your headings in your table of contents, you'll want to choose at least one of these. You will notice that there are certain areas that are bolded below that. That is a formatting suggestion to keep things organized and to look nice. It's certainly not a requirement, just a suggestion so your document can look well formatted at the end of it. You'll want to make sure at the end of this that you sweep through and you replace anything that is a placeholder or anything in brackets like this that says name or example or insert here. As for the professionalism of your document, you want to make sure that that is all buttoned up and not a concern. If there are tables you're filling in, add as many rows as you need to, but also remove blank rows that are unneeded for that final, clean, polished look. Remove any guidance texts or prompts or parenthetical notes and any example lines so it reads like a finished plan. And make sure you keep your voice consistent throughout. And what do I mean by that? I mean first person or third person. As a default, you'll typically be writing your business plan in the third person. This business will. If you'd like that more personalized approach, you can say I or we will. And no matter which one you choose, just stay consistent throughout. And to leave it more, to make sure it is professional and it reads consistently throughout. Of course, always run a spell check and read it out loud. That catches any weird phrasings. If you're going to use AI to help you phrase and rephrase some things, just make sure whatever it chooses sounds like you. I very much suggest telling AI to make it sound more like yourself in those cases, and use words that you would typically use so that the plan sounds like you. There is a sources used section in this particular area of the business plan, which makes it a little bit unique as far as areas of a business plan go. It's certainly not a requirement, but it does add credibility to have that sources used section there so people know where you got your data from, and any articles that you're referencing for any current customer trends, anything like that. And always, always, always double check if you're using AI to help write any content or pull any data for you. Make sure you check for accuracy and again, maintain your unique voice. So let's kick off into this market analysis. And first, you're going to write an introductory section. So I will highlight where we are right here. So this is the introduction. And over here, you'll see in your how-to guide, this is your opportunity to introduce people to your market analysis section. It's a simple opening statement that summarizes what you're going to do in this market analysis section. So you'll want to call out your business type, your service area name, could be Greater Atlanta, could be St. Louis metropolitan area, could be Central Florida, whatever your service area will be. And then the competitive landscape. So that could be the pet industry, the restaurant industry, whatever your industry is, and the key factors that support that realistic path to revenue. That's going to be outlined later on. So you don't have to call that out in the first sentence here. And if you'd like to add a second and third sentence, here's an example of what a second sentence might look like. This business is designed to serve your ideal type of customer. Could be luxury pet services, could be rural farmers, whatever that ideal customer type is. And we're providing the core outcome of a great boarding experience, a great restaurant experience, and with a focus on, and the one or two things that make you unique and the things you're going to focus on. This might be something like very smooth customer experience and online transactions. This might be a really unique pet boarding experience with enrichment and a focus on making it feel like home. This sentence leads into everything that you're going to talk about. So I would suggest this introduction statement is anywhere from 2 to 4 sentences, but it's not necessary to make it too much longer than that, as you're going to dive into all of those details as you go throughout each section here. Industry overview. So your template over here has some bullet points to keep you on track. And over here in the industry overview, you're going to see the instructions. You are going to specifically address the type of business you're in, some trends, and you'll want to look these up with some credible sources that are impacting the demand, the pricing, staffing, client expectations. You'll need to do some explanation of how those trends affect how you're going to operate your business. And of course, you want to mention the credible sources for your information, particularly if you're referencing how much people are spending or how often they're visiting your business type. You should back that up with some referencing and sources. You'll see there's a couple of example statements here, and also some examples of what could be changing in the industry that affects you and why these trends matter for your business. So while this over here is in bullet point format, that is meant mostly to keep you on target with what you're doing, but that doesn't mean that you are specifically going to be leaving this in bullet point format. For some people, bullet points work very well and it looks very clean. For other people, it makes a lot more sense to transition to a paragraph format and write, 3 to 5 sentences in these areas so that it shows you have a well-rounded knowledge of your industry and what's happening in your industry. Moving on to the target market. Over here, you're going to see, just to keep you online and keep you on target, there is some bullet points here so that you don't forget these items. Over here in the target market instructions, you will see a little bit more information about that. Sometimes you're writing a business plan without having distinctly chosen a specific location yet. Sometimes you have just a zip code that you're using as your center point, and that's okay. What's important in this particular area is that you are giving the area, you're creating a picture of it so that it's clear how far people will be driving to get to you and what your service area is. And every area is a little bit different. Like in a very congested area of a city, you certainly wouldn't put 10 or 20 miles for people to get to you unless your service is extremely unique and nobody else offers it. Where if you were in a rural town, a small town, that 10 or 20 miles might actually be very realistic for people to travel to you. So make sure you're explaining your geographic area so that it's clear how you are choosing this area, why you're choosing this area, and what this area means as far as business. And things like major roads and traffic patterns are important. Very often people choose locations because it's easier to get into the parking lot or has a nicer parking lot or easier access to interstates. So you'll want to make sure you call that out here in this section. When we look at your target market and demographic profile, we're going one layer deeper. And again, these bullets are meant to keep you on track. Over here, you'll get a little bit more explanation on what those bullets are. So you'll want to start breaking down who your customer is. And in this example, it's busy professionals with dogs. And you're going to give examples of why they need that type of service and why they are your primary customer target segment. And then down here, you're continuing to build upon the value you believe you're going to bring to that client type. And you're going to start to fill in your demographic table. So you'll see that a table has been added here. Now, noting this is one of those statements that you'll want to remove when you finalize your plan, because this is an instructional for you to know that you should add as many rows as you need to complete this table for your area. If you are in a rural area or a suburban area, it's not unusual to have 10 or 12 different zip codes in this list and the area names that go along with that. And these are kind of neighborhood names or area names. Typically, when you look up zip codes, you're going to see that it has a name. The area has a name. So to add a row, you simply right-click and add a row above or below. If you need to delete a row, it's the same thing. You delete a row here so that you don't have any extra rows showing. Note on this table, since you are going to be potentially estimating households that are specific to your service type, what I have here is pet owning households. That is typically estimated on whatever the percentage of households average is that owns a pet. So you'll want to make an asterisk here and make sure that people know what you base that upon. So you're either going to use a national average, or if it's available, you can use your local average. All right, moving on to the competitive landscape here. This is where you're going to break down who else is offering your types of services in your marketable area. You're going to pick 3 to 5 that would be considered closest to your service type. Now, if you are serving a very large geographic area or a national area, certainly we're not talking about a mileage range here. We're really talking about just geographic reach. So you can ignore the mileage ranges if you are doing a business type that serves giant geographies or multiple geographies. You'll want to focus in on the competitor and how close they are to your service type and how many of those geographies overlap. Direct or indirect competitor, an example of this might be if you are a pet boarding service and you are a luxury pet boarding only service, like a resort. You will have competitors that are veterinarians that also happen to offer boarding. That would be more of an indirect competitor because that is not their primary course of business. Their primary course of business would be a veterinary medicine, and then they happen to also offer boarding. Your direct competitors would be other businesses that are only offering boarding, and particularly the level and luxury style of boarding that you would want to offer. So you'll do a brief list here of the 3 to 5 that you want to concentrate on. And then for those same 3 to 5, you're going to use these blocks. This is a more consolidated version of it. Here's one that has all of the example in it. And you're going to explain these competitors in more detail and give a little bit more input on what the strengths and weaknesses may be for each of these competitors and what their market position is. You also want to make sure that you are understanding the differentiation between your services and their services. So you're going to begin to define what that means in your market. And particularly like economically, what does that mean as being premium, budget conscious, or middle of the road? And then your differentiators here, and what makes you stand out. This is your unique value proposition or your differentiation. I think that this looks a lot nicer when it ends up in paragraphs rather than in bullet points, but you should do whatever feels cleanest and most natural to you for your business plan. And finally, for this area, you'll want a conclusion. You're going to make some assumptions based upon your work and understanding your market area. You're going to make some assumptions and statements about the demand in your area. That's how many people want and need your service, your pricing that you want to be in for the area, the capacity and the staffing that you believe you're going to need to be able to service your area, and then finally the competition in your area. Here's how you can potentially list sources. For this particular section, it's a good idea to list some sources to show that you did some research. And here's some example ways of how to format the sources from different vantage points. Once you have written all of that and you have spell checked, just make sure you're going in and you're removing things like this, repeat block for each competitor notes, like this, or your chosen drive time, bank relevant page. Like, you need to go back through and make sure you're removing any of these instructional notes. And then this whole section goes into your business plan. And again, remember, if you'd like that to show up in the table of contents, make sure that you have a heading style chosen here so that it shows up. And in a table of contents, heading 1 would be the largest. Heading 2, if you choose multiple heading styles, will be below heading 1, and heading 3 would be below heading 2. So make sure you're consistent in that and intentional if you'd like your table of contents to format in that way.